Makes sense. Cloud Computing's a horse very curious to get your guys' takes on. Thought he stamped himself as a major talent right from the beginning of his career. He could have run in the Derby. Chad Brown opts to run him here instead. What are your feelings coming into this race, Andy Serling, regarding Cloud Computing?
I like this horse, and I'm really betting this horse. His debut, to be fair, he's probably not really a 6 furlong horse, and he broke a little slow, and he spent a lot of time on the rail. That was the right place to be, but he got the job done over a horse who came back with an easy win, a bias-aided win, but a legitimate horse in mineralogy. But then 3 weeks later, he comes back in the Gotham, and that was a day with a huge gold rail, and he forced a fast pace. And he did tuck in behind them, so he wasn't against the track from that perspective. But he was forcing a fast pace that just completely incinerated. He made the first move into it. J-Boy's Echo, meanwhile, broke from the rail, sat on the rail, and didn't angle off it until, around the 5/16 to 3/8 pole at some point when he circled around the tiring horses. And unlike, El Reeb, who was all the hype going into it, as well as the fourth finisher, Cloud Computing not only never really gave an inch. I mean, he was digging in and fighting back against J-Boy's Echo late in the race. And this was a horse who, it was his second career start, going 5/16 to a mile farther 3 weeks after his debut. Then he comes back in 5 weeks in the wood. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, he really didn't run that well in the wood. He didn't legitimize your belief that his Gotham was very strong. I strongly disagree with that. He earned a buyer figure 6 points lower. And he broke a length slow. He found himself back in last. He was forced to make a middle move just to get into a contending position. And while he didn't threaten, he didn't completely fall apart. And that was a track where its speed was heavily tilted towards speed. And it, especially in the two-turn races, seemed to be exaggerating the performances of the horses on the lead or near the lead, and vice versa, hurting horses that were farther behind. So he was dramatically against the racetrack in just his third career start, and yet he still ran a credible race. Now, Chad Brown, instead of throwing the wolves in the Derby, he said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do what Red Bullet did when, he ended up upsetting the Preakness and didn't run in the Derby. And now he's catching these horses at the right time. It's a vulnerable field. It's not as though there are a lot of superstars in here. He's tactically, he's going to be well-placed tactically because he has enough speed, assuming he doesn't break badly again, and he'll be in a good position in here, and he's going to be 10 or 12 to 1. So I think he's a great betting opportunity in a race where I don't really think there are that many horses that I'm supposed to be afraid of.
I hadn't thought of the Red Bullet comparison. That's very interesting. Andy Barr, you mentioned the trainer angle as a potential positive on Hence. I had that thought, too, that Chad Brown obviously he can train anything, but he's known more as a patient turf trainer than someone who's aggressive with his 3-year-olds. When he's putting this horse in the Gotham so soon after the maiden, it speaks to me that this horse could be special. Are you seeing that with
I don't see it. I mean, I understand some little Andy's points, but this horse has had only 3 career starts. He's coming back. He's coming to this race off a 5-week layoff against horses who, have really been, been sort of toughened by the Triple Crown competition. And if speaking of the trainer, I mean, if this were a turf race, we would, and a horse under similar, with a similar profile, we would be very positive about this horse because it's Chad Brown, and he is a great turf trainer. But at this stage of his career, you can't call him a great dirt trainer, and he doesn't have that magic. He's not Bob Baffert, I'll give you a Chad Brown stat. I mean, in grade 1 races over a mile on the dirt, he's 0 for his life. I mean, he's figure something like 0 for 40. So, I just don't see this horse on paper. And I want to see Chad Brown prove his greatness on dirt before I give him, a horse extra credit because of his presence. But I gotta